Mind Gap Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin.
And I'm super pumped to be here. We've had a lot of pre-show roll. Of fun stuff, pre-recording, pre-going live stuff we were chatting about. Lots of excitement. And if you want to check that out, you should check us out on youtube.com/mindgappodcast. We live stream on Tuesdays for the podcast, 8 p.m. Central. I host a video game stream on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. Lots of cool stuff. You can hang out with us live, and you're missing some shit if you don't.
I host a book club on Thursdays.
Hey, listen, Jill hosts a lot of those. So,
yeah.
Because she's a fucking literate lady. You know what I'm saying?
I'm illiterate.
Hey, it's Emilio. What's up, pal? Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you as always. We've got a lot of potential things to talk about this week. Plus,
our list runneth over.
It does, and we've also got a wonderful segment to try out tonight with some stuff. So I'm super excited. So, I've already started doing some housekeeping. So let's just finish up the housekeeping. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen to this on all your podcast apps. Rate and review if you can as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, do us a favor, hit the like button, and also hit subscribe. It helps us out a ton. It starts moving us towards being a partner, which would be really, really great. We're just running. And, we're up to 202 subscribers, which is great. We're keep bringing in that stuff. We're having some fun making our shorts and all of our segments. So come do all that sort of stuff. It means the world to us. If you feel like doing a little more on the money side, check us out on patreon.com/mindgappodcast. Subscribe there. You could be one of the cool people like Tom McIntyre, like Richie Armour, like Zinni, like Slotty Bartfast, and of course the Almighty Crit. You could be one of those cool people who contribute to us. We love you. Thank you for contributing. You can also check out our merch at redbubble.com. Type in Mind Gap Podcast in the search bar and find something that tickles your fancy and wear it around and let everybody know you listen to a podcast. Not any podcast, this podcast. You can check out our Discord server. Link is in the description down below. You can join us, hang out with us, chat with us, post memes. You can get involved with some of the podcast stuff like the Ask Practical Doug, merch ideas, all sorts of shit. Just hang out with us, play games with us. We're pretty active on there. And like I said, we do our live streams Tuesdays 8 p.m. Central and video game streams on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central. FYI, there will be no video game stream this Saturday. I was planning on it, but then I realized I have a giant family get-together at my house this Saturday.
Oh, boy.
I'm smoking a ton of meat. I'm doing a pulled pork. I'm smoking that overnight, and then I'm going to get up probably at 5 in the morning, finish that up, and then I'm going to do 3 racks of ribs. And then I'm going to do the focaccia, and I'm going to do the cookies.
How many people are coming to your house?
I think 2, but
2 people?
No, I'm just kidding. There's probably let's see here. That's 5. That's 5. Probably 12 to 14 people.
Got it. Okay.
So it'll be worthwhile this time. So
you're going to say 4.
Because I feel bad because Slotty has created a Minecraft server. And so we're looking to actually do a Minecraft stream, which is hilarious because I don't know shit about Minecraft. I played a little bit with Natalie here and there. I've logged a couple of hours, but I have no idea what I'm doing. So we're going to do a stream of me fumbling around and finding out. It won't be this Saturday. It'll be the following Saturday. So we'll get in there and do that, which will be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. So
you can't play as, because in that's Minesweeper. No, Minecraft. That's the one with the zombies, right? The little... Right?
Yes.
Blocks. Yeah. Can you play as the zombies in that?
No.
Can you go after?
It's not Left 4 Dead, unfortunately.
But pixelated Left 4 Dead. How good would that be? Like that'd be fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I'd be down for that. 100%. I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
I would totally. That'd be so. Anytime where you can do stuff like that as a fun experience. I think there's a game I think Tints posted it in our one of our channels. It was a game where essentially it's like if I remember, it's kind of like you're going through a dungeon, but one of the players plays as like the enemy. Okay. And once you destroy the enemy, then you become the enemy, and then everyone tries to kill you. It sounds really fun, but it's like local multiplayer, meaning that you have to be, which I fucking hate. I'm like, just make it online, you piece of shit. Stop making it local. Like, this is, what do you think this is, 1994?
Right.
Come on, man. Like, it's just, get your head out of your ass. Fucking figure it out, man.
Amen. I always say that about video games. Get your head out of your ass.
Just fucking make it online.
God damn it!
There, Tom Cruise.
Anyway, Justin, how was your week?
My week, good.
Caveman Justin has spoken.
Done. No, it was good. I'm just trying to remember. It was one of those where I can't remember what we did this weekend. Do you have those where you
all
just
the time?
You're like,
all the time.
I don't know. And the thing is, you ask me every week, how was your week? And every week I'm like, I got it. I'm ready. And this one, I'll just go back. Let's see. Car payment was due. I made the car payment. Oh, you know what we did was really cool. Our realtor had a cookout, like a block party. And he invited they do an annual block party like towards the end of summer. And he invited us, and we got to hang out and meet a bunch of people on his block. And it was nice because we don't know anyone else in Grand Rapids. So it felt like being brought into the fold of a neighborhood, and it was lovely. So we had a really good time with that. Met a lot of really cool people. And actually on Friday of last week, Beth and I did a hike up to out in one of the state parks near the lake. And we did a just over a mile hike, and it ends as you crest over a dune right on Lake Michigan. And we timed it so as we were cresting, the sun was setting. We laid out a blanket, watched the sunset, and then we came home. So that was a really cool Friday evening.
That's cool. I was kind of hoping to say, like, as you crested the dune, you got there just in time to watch Abby just take a huge shit, you know?
Oh, that happened too.
Just go out there like, and then just a massive shit on top of the dune.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, well, we're in nature, I guess, you know?
It's God's living room.
That's right. It's God's litter box.
Dookie on his carpet.
Dookie forever. You know?
Dookie forever.
Yeah.
What was your weekend like?
Friday, I went to an improv show for the first time in years.
Yeah, how was that?
It was interesting. Friend of the pod, Bailey, who was a guest on here a couple years ago, before the pandy. She is actually moving from Chicago back out to the Pacific Northwest, and she was doing one of her final shows at there's a club out in Schaumburg called Laugh Out Loud Theater, and she is on a team there, and they do like an hour-long show. And she invited me, and I was like, it's a 20-minute drive from where I am. Fuck yeah, I'll check it out. And it was really nice to kind of be back in that setting, as, you know, I used to basically live in those improv theaters just multiple days a week. Yeah. Going and doing that. And so, like, I had a lot of really great memories. I also had a lot of bad memories at the same time.
Sure.
But it was fun to watch. Also, when I did improv, it was in the heart of Chicago for basically mostly other improvisers. Mm-hmm. So it felt like, I don't know, it was weird because you felt like you were playing to experts, if that makes sense, because everyone knew how everything worked.
So
it was a lot more critical, whereas out in the suburbs, people are just like, well, holy shit, they made all that up. How'd they do it? You know, and they were just
a little bit more receptive of an audience.
They were. My favorite part was some of the really dumb suggestions from the audience, like just people that really have a hard time thinking outside the box. Like someone be like, "Can I get a genre of movie? Comedy." It's like, cool. I mean, it's what we're doing right now, but I guess I guess we can do that. So people just weren't really thoughtful. And when they were doing something else, like, all right, give me a genre, horror. Okay, we're doing horror. All right. What's something someone usually says in a horror movie? Someone goes, hello.
Oh, stop.
I was like, I just like cackled. I couldn't help it because I was just like, what? I guess you can kind of argue like if someone's like, hello, is anybody there? But I was like, hello. Okay.
Hello.
You dumb son of a bitch.
Give me
And
something
then
someone would say in a drama film, Doug.
it's like, hi,
Okay. Give me something someone would say in a noir.
who's there?
Great.
Something someone would say in a family movie. Aloha.
Aloha.
It's a travel paradise movie.
Exactly. It's Brady's Go to Hawaii.
Right. And then someone goes, all right, comedy. Give me something that happens in a comedy. Someone goes, Groundhog Day. I'm like, that doesn't answer anything.
It's a comedy film.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. It was really difficult to listen to that stuff. I'm just like, wow. Okay. But Bailey did great.
Yeah.
And what was your question?
No, I was going to say it's probably all the thing is in the suburbs, especially in Schaumburg in that area. You got people who are probably, this is the one night a week they have away from their kids. They're going to go get hammered. You're not getting the best and the brightest, we'll say.
There was a party of like 15 celebrating like a woman's birthday. Like
Bingo.
But they were great. They were really, really good. It was one of those things where she came in, she had a sash, and I was like, oh fuck. It was an older woman, and her family had surprised her and everything like that. So it was very fun. So to that extent, like people were very, I think, and this is not knocking, but they were just easily pleased because like, oh, cool, improv, absolutely. And they had a good time. Bailey was great. The other actors were great. She asked me afterwards, she goes, so I go, I really enjoyed it. She goes, good. She goes, sometimes I feel like as another improviser who understands the inner workings of this, I worry. And I was like, fuck it. Don't worry about what I'm worried about. Like, I'm just thrilled to be at a show like this. It was basically all improv games. I love long form creative stuff like that. So that's not usually my jam to watch short form games. I'm kind of, it can be fun, but I don't know. It's not my cup of tea necessarily.
Yeah.
So
look, as long as the audience is having a good time, it doesn't matter whether or not you're being true to form, whether or not you're pulling out the best or most creative, directions to take a scene. If the audience is laughing, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
Like that, because at the end of the day, you're at it's an improv comedy show.
Yeah.
That's what you're there to do. And if the audience is having a good time, and it sounds like they were.
Yeah.
And I'd have to assume too, as an improviser, and this is not a knock to anyone in the suburbs. We kid a lot, but I feel like with people in the suburbs, because they're not around like the heart of the that is probably, I would assume as an improviser, ideal to play out in the suburbs because you are getting an audience who is thirsty for entertainment. And so what a great show, just a very receptive show to attend. It sounds like a good time.
Yeah. It started out a little cold, but by the end of the night, like people were really going and we were having a good time, and it was good. The room felt, it's always that weird initial sort of like chill in the room as people are like, oh, we're doing stuff, and everyone, the improvisers come out, they're like, yeah, we're dancing to music, and it's always that weird like, you're trying to, you want to buy into the experience, but it's like you're selling it really hard, and you have to have high energy. You can't come out and be like, what's up?
Hey,
we're gonna do improv, okay? Yeah. It's like you got to be like, woohoo, we're goofy. It's like a kids' TV show or something like that, and
that's exactly what it's like. You're coming in like doing weird dances and pointing to people in the audience. It is very akin to a kids' TV. Well, it's ironic because in level A, they teach you to go back to that mindset of being a kid, a toddler, and mirroring someone and playing the repeat game and things like that. So you've got to almost pull the audience into, like, think about how awkward we all felt when we were in level A. That is essentially what the audience is feeling. Yeah. And so you've got to pull them through and make sure that they understand they can trust you.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like, a lot of stand-ups say you got to essentially win over the audience. You got to get them on your side, and you got to make sure that they're having fun. And it's difficult to do that right out of the gate, but improv is silly and weird, and you're making shit up. And I think that's kind of the fun of improv, is that you're just making stuff up as you go. It was fun. Like, a part of me was like, I kind of miss doing this. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I love, just doing make 'em ups on the spot. Yeah. I love just inventing that. Some of my favorite things were just doing, especially the long form stuff. Like, let's just sit in this scene. Let's play it out. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's have fun. That's why the short form stuff, I'm not good at it because you have to be really quick, They did like the 185 game where it's like 185 bananas walk into a bar and the bartender says, "Hey, we're closed. Beat it." And they're like, "Oh man, I guess we got to split." You know, they're intentionally bad stand-up jokes. And just things like that. As they were doing it, I was like sitting there going like, okay, what would I say? And my mind just went blank the whole time. I didn't enjoy it because I was imagining if I was performing, you know, it would just be, I would just be standing on the sideline going, "Good job. I got nothing. I'm gonna sit out this game because I don't want to play it," you know, like.
Or that'd be the one where you would be like, all right, I'm just going to go with, because I feel like we all had those moments where you're like, I'm just going to go in with what I know. 185 farts come out, you know, and then you're like,
well, that's the thing is like the audience would suggest what the punchline was going to be, right? What the things were going to be. And so it's like, like someone said Harry Potter. It's like, all right, 185 Harry Potters walked in. And I was like, I don't know. What do you do with that? You know, I'm like, I love Harry Potter. I'm like, I can't think of any really bad puns, you know, that could do that. You know,
what did they go with? Do you remember?
Someone was like, "Hey, oh, that's too bad. I want a bottle of Patronus," you know, or something like that. You know, it was just, I hate puns anyway. So that game is not for me. You know,
that is the Felucci game, up and down.
Yes,
100%. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was. It's
the difference is I never did a lot of long form like you. I always wanted to do IO, but I kind of flamed out just before. It was right after we got done with. We got through all the levels and then we did the Jessicas for a while. And I think while we were doing the Jessicas, that's when you jumped into IO. And I was like, I just don't want to spend the money on that right now. But I really wanted to because the concept of that long form Herald form really intrigued me. And I just, to this day, makes me terrified to think about doing it because like I was so used to doing more short form / game, you know, for those who don't know, comedy sports is kind of the short form gamey. When we say short form, let me take that back. Comedy sports is games, which is like whose line is it anyway? Yeah. Second City is known for their short form, which is maybe like 3 to 5 minute scenes, maybe less. And sometimes
they're primarily sketch is what Second City is known for.
And they can come back later on if you know that. But IO was known for the Herald, and that is like you spend like an hour telling a connected story, basically.
The good ones go 45 minutes to an hour. The newbies, it's like, please don't go longer than 25 because this is torture. This is absolute torture.
Yeah.
But yeah, the really good ones could go 45 and it is awesome. It's so much fun to watch people go and just create and do callbacks and explore and have fun. Yeah. And some of my favorite like times, I still remember specific scenes from Heralds from like really good people. And it still tickles my heart. Jill and I still make references to those shows, like to this day, those call outs that I'm sure those performers have long since forgotten, but I still remember because they were so fucking good.
Right.
Noah says, Mind Gap get together open mic. I mean, we could do an improv jam. I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
I love doing those. I remember the first jam we went to. I was terrified.
Oh my God! Yes. Wait, did we get up to the?
I think
jam?
so. Like, yeah, we did. Like, so a jam was essentially an opportunity. It was kind of like an open mic night for people that wanted to go and just do improv. They like some teachers would just host to be like for 2 hours. You come in, they're like, all right, who wants to do this thing? And like people would volunteer. They'd go up, and it was just an opportunity to kind of like get some reps. And we went, and I was so fucking nervous. And like we went up and we did stuff, and I was like, oh my God, this is wild.
You've got the safety net of your class when you're going through the classes, and you really start to build a bond, and you support each other. You go out afterwards and you have some drinks and you hang out. Like you really start to get to know each other. This jam was like 50 to 75 people packed into a small room, and all eyes were up front. And that's where the volunteers would go. And it was legitimately it's different than a show too. When you're in a theater, you've got lights, you can't see the audience, and you've got a big stage. This was a compact room where you saw every set of eyes that was on you, and it was terrifying.
And it was the fact that everyone was a student of improv. So I felt like the pressure was greater because you're watching other people judge you as to how good you are at improv. And that was the shit that made me be like, just complete, just dead inside of like, I'm going to fuck this up. It's like, there's not a script, man. And again, I just don't enjoy a lot of games. There's some games I enjoy that I think are a lot of fun and they're creative. But for the most part, I'm like, I even find those games kind of restrictive. Of like, we're going to do this thing. There's going to be, and there's always rules, right? Harold has rules and things like that. But this is very much like Foursquare, right? It's like, turn left, and now you're in this scene. Turn right, now you're in that scene. And then it's just like, come on, man. I just want to play. Right. I want to get in the scene. I want to breathe. I want to have fun. I want to explore. I want to do that sort of stuff. I don't always enjoy. So it's fun to watch, but it's just not my cup of tea. I don't like doing it.
I need to see if there's any improv up here in Grand Rapids. I would love to go see what it looks, because I've never sought out improv really outside of Chicago or the Chicago metropolitan area. Like, I'm very curious to see what the caliber of improv is outside of what I would consider Mecca.
Yeah. Oh, I know, right? Like, it's got to be interesting. Like, part of me, like, I'll be honest with you. Like, when I was there, I was like, could I audition for this? Like, right. Could I do it? And I was like, if this is all they do, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do game shows. But that's also probably what makes the most sense for the suburbs of Chicago is games, like that short form games.
Yeah, and I feel like when someone's not coming to the IO, to Second City, when they're not coming to an improv, when they're going to a comedy club where an improv show happens to be, that again, most people, the broader audience knows whose line is it anyway. They know those games, and I feel like that is what's going to be the most appealing. So it makes sense that especially outside of Chicago, to a general audience, that's what you're going to play.
Yeah,
it's only 20 minutes from your place, man. You could have a little side career.
That's why I was like,
there's a spot available now.
Could I go and resurrect this part of my life? I was like,
right,
it's 25 minutes away. Like, Natalie's older now. I mean, but again, if it's just short form shit, I'm like, nah, hard pass.
Well, also, all the other places that you would have to play, because they probably don't play that one club, and the rehearsals, and the extracurricular team building activities, and yeah.
It was a small team. It was only 4 people, but I was like, Jay, go ahead. We are synced up tonight. This is amazing.
Saying, man. Yeah. JF Potty Plant says, did you both ever watch Middleditch and Schwartz's improv special on Netflix? I'm not an improver, but I enjoyed it a lot. Yes. I watched the first episode, I think. They had like 3 or 4 episodes, and it was absolutely wonderful. I loved it. It is pure. It felt like watching TJ and Dave, because it's 2 guys that are creating all these characters, and they're swapping in and out. So very similar form. And those are 2 extremely, extremely talented improvisers.
Well, Middleditch is one of the guys that I know at one point was doing improvised Shakespeare. So you can find, there's a great YouTube clip of, I think it was the Just for Laughs festival. It was probably, I think, from the 90s or early 2000s. I think Lewis Black actually introduces this group, and I think they edit it to do they did like a 5-6 minute set, and it is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. If you're not sure, I used to this day, improvised Shakespeare is one of the best improvised shows out there. Like, it competes with TJ and Dave. 5 guys essentially get a suggestion from the audience, and they improvise a 2-act Shakespeare play, and it is fucking phenomenal. They do it in iambic pentameter. They rhyme. They have some classic Shakespeare themes, and it is fucking hilarious.
You talked often about improvised Shakespeare when we were in the thick of it, and that's a show I never got to see, but every time you talked about it, I'm like, I really want to go check this out. Man. At some point, I want to come back and make one of those shows, just because
we should do that. If you come back, we should make it like we go to a show and we check it out, because God damn it, man, it's 45 minutes. They take like a break in between, and it is. I think I went maybe 5 or 6 times. Like, it was so good. It was such a strong and powerful and it just impressive show. Like, and it was, because here's the thing with improv. With the really good people, it's good like 95% of the time. They find a way to make it work. Average people, it's a slog. It can be a real challenge to be like, whew, like, here we go. With improvised Shakespeare, I'm like, if people are like, I've never watched improv before, what should I do? I go to improvised Shakespeare. You will not be disappointed. I guarantee you will have a good time. I was like, that is
Right.
a solid. If you want to take some risks, here's some other teams I could recommend. I'm like, they're good most of the time, but who knows, you know? And then, of course, there's the student shows where, God bless you got to get the reps in, but
you got to get that's the best way to say it. God bless you. You got to get the reps in. There's another. Go ahead.
God damn it. We did it again.
I know. There's another movie out there. If you're interested in improv, I would definitely say check out Middleditch and Schwartz on Netflix. There's another movie you can find out there called Trust Us. This is all made up. It's basically a documentary about the comedy duo TJ and Dave, who we've referenced a few times so far. TJ Jagodowski and Dave Pasquesi, two Chicago improvisers who are legends. If you've seen any of the Sonic commercials, the old Sonic commercials, TJ was the guy sitting in the passenger seat and all those. And Dave Pasquesi has been in a bunch of stuff. Most notably, he was Julia Louis-Dreyfus's husband on Veep. So for reference for those who don't know. But this documents them going to New York and what they do during the day to prep for the show. And then they actually have cameras in the theater and they recorded their show that night. And it is, it's wonderful to see their process and then to see it come to fruition at the end of the day. I would strongly recommend that one as well. Doug and I saw TJ and Dave a few times.
That was another show. That's another show I just deeply, deeply miss. It sucked because it was like 10:30 on a Wednesday is when they would perform.
Tough.
And they go for an hour, so you get out of there at like 11:30, 11:45. But God damn it, it was so good. Two guys doing incredibly impressive improv, just the two of them, and for 45 minutes, and they don't get any suggestions. They just they say, trust me, this is all made up. Lights go down, and it comes up, and they just look at each other, and then they figure out where to go, and they slowly build a world. They swap in and out of characters, and they create an amazing fucking scene. It's top notch shit. Like, the only other thing I wish I could have seen on a regular basis would be see Jason Mantzoukas do improv, because I wish that guy was based out of Chicago, so I could have seen him do stuff, because that guy is also one of the best improvisers out there. You may know him as Rafi from The League, as well as whatever his name is on Brooklyn 911 and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. He's a phenomenal, 9911223.
Well, tell him the infamous improv story about Mantzoukas.
If I remember this, like, he was supposed to be it was like a group of three. They were supposed to perform one night, and then all the other two guys couldn't make it. So he's like, fuck it, I'll just go out by myself. And so he goes out and just does an entire like set on his own. And the set ends up being like a guy that is dealing with being alone, like in his like a apartment, and he's sad and everything like that. And I think it culminates with him like masturbating to something at the end. And he took everyone on a journey, and by the end of it, people were cheering as he masturbated. Like, that's like what he was able to do. There's basically hardly any dialogue, and he got people just invested in what he was doing. And listening to him on How Did This Get Made podcast and all this other stuff, like, he is an incredible improviser. In fact, I remember what's his name, Ren Azizi, he plays one of the characters on The League, and I remember him talking to Bert Kreischer and Ari Shaffir about the show The League, and Bert was like, oh man, that is a stellar cast of funny people. He's like, what was it like? And Steve Ren Azizi is his name. He was like, oh, you'll never get the last joke. You'll never get the button. He goes, never. He goes, it's so difficult. They're so good. And like, who gets it most of the time? And he goes, oh, it's Jason Mantzoukas. Like, hands down. That guy just, and it's funny because I don't think Bert Kreischer or Ari really knew who he was. And he's like, oh yeah, good luck getting in the last joke with that guy. And I mean, you've seen, there's one of my favorite things was, it's an outtake from Parks and Rec where he plays like
Dennis Feinstein. He's a fragrance mogul. Right.
And there's a wonderful outtake where one of the guys picks up a ball, like, oh, this is called Inside. What's that about? He's like, oh, it's because it's been inside someone. And like, he just says it without skipping a beat. You would have thought it was scripted. Everyone loses their fucking minds. Aziz Ansari just dies laughing. He's like, what? His delivery, because it's been inside of someone. Like,
well, the thing is, and that's the mark of a true improviser, is he says it with such authority. Like he's saying it as a fact. And there's no hesitation or question in his own mind. You don't see him think. It's just, it comes out as fact. And that's what makes it, that's just what makes it so perfect.
Yeah, and the fact, and that's what makes that stuff so magical, is when someone will declare something like that, and someone else can then grab that and also run with it, and then you just create this back and forth where you create this amazing, beautiful, real thing.
Yeah,
that you're like, holy shit. That also will disappear the second that it's done. Like, unless you want to try and mine it for sketch or something after the fact, but. Yeah. That's what makes it such a wonderful thing, is just you watch it happen and you're like, oh shit. And then it's gone. Yeah. It's fleeting.
Yeah. It really, and that's, I mean, not to go too teachy, but that's what the premise of Yes and is because it's, if someone comes out with that strong of an assertive statement saying like, this is truth. It's so much funnier if someone's like, it is. And then this is also true. And building instead of that no but. That no but will just kill so that's any good cast or ensemble, be it TV or movies or live theater, understands, and you don't even have to be in the improv community. If you're just a good ensemble member, you understand that yes and mentality, and it goes so it takes you so far. And
it's the best. And again, just not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but it makes it so that mistakes are gold. They're golden opportunities. Some of my favorite moments was one of my favorite scenes. It was the what was the name of the team? I can't remember, but it had like Jeff Griggs and everyone. Some of my heroes that I can't remember their names anymore, but they were doing a scene where they were like on top of a mountain and they were just like talking, and someone entered the scene from one of the doors and was like, "Oh, sorry, my bad." Close the door, and someone goes, "When the fuck did this door get here?" They're like, "Wait, we climbed the mountain and someone just took a fucking door to get up here?" And then they built on that to the point where they built this world where there's doors that just go everywhere. And they built on it for scenes. And it was just a stupid mistake that someone was like, "Oh, shit, I came in too early," or whatever. Or they were trying to and they're like, "What the? Holy, huh?"
What a door here.
Yeah. And it just became this thing that they played off of, or someone made a weird move to make it like, they're like, haha. They're like, "Oh, we're skipping." And they're like, "Let's skip, guys." And everyone's like, "Fuck, we got to skip now." Like that just became the thing where that's the kind of shit that I like to do. If someone does something, I'm like, "Oh, we're going to do that now. Like we're going to make this a thing. This is going to be the scene where we do this." And it's so much fun. Just such fond memories of all that sort of stuff. And, just creating in that atmosphere. I miss it. I really, 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 truly miss it. There's a lot of stuff about it that's kind of icky too that I don't miss, but there's just that creativity and being able to have that bond with other people and being able to do really silly shit and at the same time making people laugh. Like that was probably, I see why stand-up comedians call it chasing the dragon, you know?
Yeah.
Because you do something like that, and it's like, oh fuck, people are laughing because I did something silly, and it was enjoyable. You know, it is being on stage, and you and I have had the pleasure of being on stage in a few different capacities. Like we both played music, so I think you were. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in a band, right? I was, yes.
Like a garage band, yeah. So. Like be it that or be it, for comedy or improv, there's something about the high of being on stage and having an audience behind you and rooting you on and not throwing tomatoes at you. That is just, it is an indescribable feeling. It's wonderful. Soaring, tumbling, freewheeling on a magic carpet ride.
Yeah, it's so true. Zvenya, the Jitja Babo, he is risen.
Amen.
Yep.
Thank God you've got your soundboard back. You've got some good ones on there.
Still works. Still works.
And this is where someone would run across and edit the scene.
Yes.
Because it just died.
Yeah, exactly. So they just be like, new scene.
New scene.
And also with you. Thank you, Emilio.
Yes.
So this is a topic that I've been meaning to talk about for a while. We just haven't got to it yet. But it was an article from Marketing Brew by Katie Hicks. Came out in July, and it's called "How Much Should Graphic Designers Worry About Dall-E 2?" If you're not familiar with Dall-E 2, it's essentially an AI generated photo / image generator.
Perfect. You nailed it.
I think it's a perfect description.
We need nothing else on it. Moving on.
It's basically a real AI application. It's been developed by R&D company OpenAI, and essentially what you can do is go into a search bar. I think you have to, they're beta testing it right now, and I think they're going to roll it out soon where you can pay a monthly subscription to use it. But you can type in, things like giant spaghetti monster swimming in a pool. And based on that information, it will generate a grid of I don't know if it's 9 to 12 images based on that. And it's kind of surprisingly accurate. It's really kind of strange what it can pull together. I forget what it's called, but it's one of those things where I think there's a Twitter account that just will post different things that people have searched to kind of show what's out there. And I forget what it was, one of the first ones that I saw about it, but people started posting some of that stuff in our Discord and things. I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at right now? It's just, I didn't know what it was. Just the random shit that people were posting. But one of the things that some folks have raised some concerns about is that that this will essentially take jobs away from designers eventually, because you can just type in what you want and the AI will generate it, and there you go. Who needs to create something?
Right.
There's some other critiques to that as well, which I think we'll get into, but based off what this is and what you've seen from it, Justin, what are your thoughts on Dall-E 2? Is it terrifying? Is it cool? Is it useful?
I think it's cool. Actually, John Oliver, this past Sunday, August 14th, he did his show. At the end of the show, he discussed this exact topic, and it ended in a culmination of, apparently on one of these, they searched a bunch of late night hosts, and most of them had 8 results or 3 results or whatever. John Oliver had 493 results. So people have been just putting John Oliver stuff in here, and some of them are horrifying, just absolutely horrifying. I would strongly recommend people seek out that little bit. It's about, 10 minutes at the end of this last episode. But I thought it was perfect because we were talking about it this week. In looking at that and in watching him do a piece on that, I was less, when we first brought this topic up, I was like, I don't like this at all. And I feel like this is going to be horrible I think I've changed my stance on and to kind of to what Noah said in the chat here, I feel like it's going to be great, more so great for inspiration, and graphic designers can use it as a tool and not necessarily to replace them. Because I'll say this, a lot of what was spit out when John Oliver, the name was put in there, was nightmare fuel. So it wasn't necessarily good. It was something, and it was something that I don't know if a person would have thought up, but it wasn't necessarily something that I would say was of the same caliber as a graphic designer. Could it get to that point eventually? Maybe, but I truly think that this could be used more so as a tool than competition. So I think it actually has the potential to be rather good for the industry.
I find it interesting. Chad Colchin from the Dudesy podcast, believes that eventually, very soon, we're going to have the ability, the technology to essentially create any image that has and ever will exist in the world, because images are essentially just pixels and just math. If you think about it, they're numbers, they're shades, they're hues, and he goes, and at some point we'll have something that can just generate all that sort of stuff. And for me, I find that again, I'm kind of a designer, but not really. Like, I make training stuff, but I'm not like a full-fledged designer, so to speak. So I look at something like this as like, awesome. I can go to this AI generator and be like, this is exactly, because I've poured through stock footage, stock
that's
photos,
actually very good point too,
trying to find the exact thing that I'm looking for. I'm like, no, this is too corporate. No, this is a lady in a bikini for some reason. No, this is like, like I'm trying to find the right thing that, encapsulates what I'm trying to get. And to type something in and describe it and have a computer be like, here you go. I'd be like, awesome. This is exactly what I'm looking for. That's pretty exciting for me. From a design standpoint, I'm someone that is very much like lives off of inspiration. I'm terrible with a blank canvas. Like, you give me something, a white sheet of paper and be like, make something. I'm like, I do better when I can see, especially when working with software and things like that, where I don't always know what's possible. Yeah. Or I can look at things and be like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder how they did that. And then get that idea in my mind and be like, cool, what if I took something like that sort of motion, but then I did something a little bit different. It kind of gives me something to work with. That's where I find stuff like this interesting. And I think Noah talked about that. Richie said, I used Midjourney to create a new logo for the podcast recently, and it's actually really fucking good. Emilio says, any designer worth their salt will see this as another tool to help them with their inspiration. JF Potty Plant, at least half of graphic designers should worry because this will probably be better than half of the work out there. The market has been flooded anyway, so it's not a huge loss. In his opinion, he goes, P.S. I have a BA in graphic design. So I kind of look like, and both of them made a point too about clients not knowing what they want. They mentioned this in this article that, especially for something like storyboarding, like a lot of time, or pitching stuff like as like filmmakers or commercials or things like that, people are trying to like explain what is they're going to do, and the clients don't necessarily understand it or they can't see it. So it's just to be like, type that in and be like, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Not exactly, but this kind of gives you an idea. And imagine being able to generate a rough storyboard look for like a movie, right? You're typing that stuff out instead of having to painstakingly draw the stuff, because I would also argue that a lot of like fears around AI and them taking jobs, and again, I'm not an expert here, but I feel like it eliminates a lot of the menial work, the stuff that's really kind of annoying and time consuming. And while it will take a long time to necessarily sketch out a storyboard, you know what I mean? Like, because there's storyboard artists out there, I'm sure they make a lot of good money. It would suck for them basically be like, yeah, we don't need you to do that anymore. But you also think about the time you could save from typing that in and being like, this is roughly what we're going to be looking at, almost instantaneously being able to pull that information out there. I think it's interesting. I think it's kind of cool.
It has a purpose. I don't, I don't know. There's something about, and this is where I am debating with myself on both sides of the fence, because I feel like there's something about human creativity and human characteristics that it will never be fully replicatable. I feel like the what comes from the human brain is, you can get close, but you'll never be able to fully replicate the creativity that we can generate. That being said, AI comes from a human brain. So someone started the program. So, and there is, what is it? The Turing test, right? Like there is a concept of AI being so smart or so intelligent that you can't tell that it's not a human. So, I can see both sides of the debate pretty equally. I just have this gut feeling that you're never going to be able to replace what a human can do. When it comes to something creatively, when it comes to a menial task, absolutely. I feel like go to town. That's and it's something too that I feel like you can create something not only that can compete with what a human can do, but it can best a human. If you look at an assembly line, automated assembly. Now, I'm not saying that people should be taken off. I'm not advocating for jobs being removed, but a robotic assembly line is 100 times more efficient than a human staffed assembly line. It is. There's fewer mistakes. There's more accuracy, et cetera.
Don't have to take breaks.
You have to take breaks. Exactly. So from that standpoint, there's a lot that can be done, but when it comes to a creative standpoint, I just don't think you can match it. You can get close, but I don't think you'll ever get there.
I think it'll be able to, like I said, it'll create assets for us to use, but, you know, I'm sure Chad Kultgen would argue otherwise. He has some, in my mind, pretty extreme ideas about what the future is going to be, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel. And of course, Will Sass is like, bullshit.
Well, that sounds. Remember, we talked to Wayne about this, Wayne Parham, a long time ago, and his whole argument is he's like, look, the AI that you guys are talking about, that everyone thinks of when they say AI, it's these humanoid robots that are gonna think like humans and take over. He goes like, that's not it. That's not what AI. Everyone, it feels like Chad Kultgen has a very cinematic look on what AI will be, you know?
Nah, not necessarily, because he's the same way, where he's like, listen, this technology will come and it will exist, and we're gonna have to learn how to adapt to it. It's not necessarily like robots walking around doing that sort of stuff. He believes that we'll be able to download our conscious into a virtual environment, and we'll have to decide whether or not we want to live in that environment. You know,
does he believe in the singularity?
Probably, you know. But he's just like, you know, AI is already writing news articles, you know, things of that nature, being able to do that sort of stuff. You know, and again, I'm all for something that is going to, you know, take the annoying aspect out of life. But I'm also, again, I've never yet been in an industry where technology has basically rendered my job moot.
Right.
At the same time, I would like to believe that Practical Doug would be like, well, this is the best option. You know, like,
well, the machine is better than I am.
I was like, well, I mean, efficiency wise, this does make sense. And I am a sucker for efficiencies. I'm a sucker for stuff that just makes sense. Like, again, because also it's easy for me to like take your assembly plant, you know, scenario. That would be a terrible job for me. So I'm like, get rid of that job, because I think that job sucks, right? Like, that would be miserable to be like, oh, we're making widgets today. Dunk, 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 move, dunk, 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 move. Like, it's horrible, just soul crushing job. It's like, yes, have a machine do all that for you, and then that person can go do something else, something hopefully more fun, more enjoyable. I believe a friend of my brother's was, I think, involved with like making cars and stuff like that, and a lot of automation took over. He was really good at essentially maintaining the systems that automate. So he's the guy that can go in and fix that shit because he understands how that works. So someone's got to maintain the machines, right, to some degree.
True, but an equal number of maintenance people is not required as was on the assembly line. True. Just to play devil's advocate on the other side, like that, while we would hate to have a job like that, there are some people who they rely on that for survival. And so I think there's I don't know, it's a very interesting debate, the AI doing the menial tasks, because there's something, well, it's like, do you whether or not they work efficient or work well, do you typically go to the self-checkout, or do you go to the cashiers when you go to the grocery store?
Depends on how many groceries I have. Typically, I'd say most of the time I go through self-checkout. Okay. Because I fucking love it. Because especially if I have like a couple of things, I'm like, oh, I'm in and out of here, baby. Like, I'm in control of my destiny. Beep, boop, 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 boop. I'm out. Like, I don't have to worry about it. I prefer that. I think that's great. When I have a lot of groceries, I'm like, someone else do this for me, please.
I haven't, obviously, someone will easily come in and tell me that I'm wrong based off of some sort of actual reporting that is out there. But I have heard people in grocery stores speak to the fact that they are pissed off because this means that jobs will be cut, positions will be cut from that store. Now, from the bottom line standpoint, is that better? Sure. From an employee standpoint, from a workforce standpoint, is that better? And that's just one small industry. You could extrapolate that into every industry. We talked about automated trucking,
which personally sounds awesome if it doesn't kill people. I
mean, that's a big caveat.
Yeah, right. Small footnote. If these things don't kill people and drive safe, I'm all for it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, again, those are, and I think one of the solutions, I don't know exactly how you would achieve this depending on the industry, but if you know your industry is going to be essentially changed that drastically, I would like to think that the organizations that are involved in that industry would then also help their employees train and transition into something that will also benefit them, which is like the next level. Because I think long term, it's better for us as a group to turn these things over. It's like toll booths, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having someone there, give me your money, I'll give you your change, push a button, the thing goes up. You have a machine that does it for you. Like, yeah, that's a job. I don't want to sound like a dick, but that's kind of a shitty job, right? Like you go there, you take the money.
It is,
you know, it is a job, but can we eliminate that job, automate it, and get that something better, something, more, I don't know, creative, something that's more human.
I think maybe for me that would be the happy medium, is that if as the AI as the rise of the AI happens and more industry turns to that, I think there needs to be some either institution put in place or some agency or someone who is some bureau that's put together that is in charge of helping to retrain and relocate people in the workforce who are going to be displaced by AI. I think that's extremely necessary, because I agree. Like for a toll person, no one wants to sit there and suck exhaust fumes all day and give change and have people pissed off. It's a thankless job. You're only dealing with people who are pissed off because it's not moving quick enough. You've got, you're sitting in exhaust fumes all day in the sun or in the snow or the whatever it is. So it's definitely not a very humane job. I think, but if you're going to take a job away, there has to be some sort of agency set up to help with those relocation.
That would make the most sense to me, is just to make sure that people, Jay Pottypat says we need to make sure it is being used to aid humans, not replace them. I agree. Like, for example, again, this is a bit of a touchy subject, but like, renewable energy, right? We got people that are working in coal and things like that. That's something that we should eventually phase out and go something else. What if we spent time and effort to train the people that go and do coal into how they can work in the renewable energy field, right? Give them the time to be like, hey, look, we're phasing this out. We care about you. Instead of working on coal, what if we trained you, shifted you over to solar or wind or something like that? Because we need people to go out and do this stuff. We're investing in those things. If we were to change that trajectory, that would be a big difference in that regard. But if we're replacing, again, I keep going back and forth. I go back to like the trucking thing, right? With people that are just spending their time driving. And again, to me, nightmare job, absolute nightmare job. Would fucking hate every single second of that job. I think it's dangerous because truck drivers are incentivized to not stop and to not rest. They're required to stop like after every 8 hours and take a rest and keep a log. Most of them don't. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. I just know from the handful that I know personally in my life, they don't do that. It's like they got to stop. And it's just pure efficiency. They have to stop. Whereas an automated thing wouldn't. It could just go. You could also like make sure that it doesn't speed. Again, we're assuming a lot here, right? It doesn't kill people. That it maintains a safe speed, goes the speed limit, all that sort of stuff.
Best case scenario. Yeah.
Yes, best case scenario. If holding all that stuff true, why wouldn't you want that? Yes, it would suck. It'd fucking suck if you're a truck driver and you're like, oh shit, that goes away. Where do you repurpose those people? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do for them when they've spent their life being a long haul trucker, doing all that sort of stuff, like handling, and again, it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like they're not just like one day, hey, they're here, they're not there the next day. We've got automated vehicles doing all this sort of shit. So it does take time, but, I don't know. It's for me, again, the practical Doug is just like, yeah, but it's better overall. Again, assuming it's objectively like all those things we said, that doesn't kill people. It's safe.
If you can meet this list of caveats, then ding.
Like that to me is, it just makes sense. I don't know. You're freeing people up to do other things. Whether or not they want to is another thing. But I don't know.
I think it's something that needs to continually be reevaluated and discussed. It's an interesting, like I said, it's an interesting topic of discussion. It's an interesting debate to have, and I definitely think it's something that as it progresses, we will need to have more and more creative conversations about how do we integrate it and how do we make it work. Like Potty Plant says, how do we have it aid us and not replace us?
Indeed.
Indubitably. Speaking of indubitably.
Oh boy. You know what that is?
I have no idea what that is.
That's time for Anime Out of Context, and that is a submission from Richie from You Haven't Heard This Music podcast. He submitted his own idea for the Anime Out of Context transition. So, Richie, thank you, pal.
Thank you.
Tell Wayne I'm anxious to hear his submission as well.
Yeah, apparently there's a little competition over in the You Haven't Heard This Music podcast verse between Richie and Wayne. They're trying to see who comes up with the better stinger, the intro stinger.
Yes, I am very excited. That was very fun, and thank you for submitting that, sir. If you want to submit your own, if you have an idea for something that would be a fun musical intro for this segment, Anime Out of Context, feel free. Hit us up on social media, join our Discord, drop it in there like Richie did, like a cool cat that he is, just dropped it right in there for everyone to listen to. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear what you can come up with.
Dropped it in there like a mouse.
Because you all are some creative motherfuckers, and I would love to hear what else you can come up with. Give me a second, Justin, because I'm switching over the roles as we speak.
All right. I'll go ahead and close this. I was going to say, am I Dark Schneider again?
You are, actually. Originally, okay. I wasn't going to have you do it. I was like, it makes sense to keep you. But now that you mentioned this voice modifier, I was like, actually, I'm going to change one of these roles. I think I'm going to be a different character. So, welcome to Anime Out of Context. Fastly becoming one of my favorite new segments that we do. This is your first time checking this out. Essentially, what happens is Justin and I get a script. 99% of them I've created. They are segments from anime shows, and they are scenes that I think are fucking bizarre, strange, and hilarious. And I type them up, and I sign roles. And then Justin essentially gets to do a cold read of it. He has no context for the scene, what's going on. And my goal is to give him the roles that have the most insane dialogue so that he can just read them and not really know what the hell is going on. So this is going to be part 2 of Bastard, an anime that is available on Netflix, an anime I don't particularly enjoy, but I watched all 12, 13 episodes because I'm like, there's a lot of content to mine here for Anime Out of Context. This particular one comes from season 1, episode 5, known as Showdown. And Justin, you can go ahead and open up the script now if you haven't already.
Oh, it's open.
You are going to be playing Dark Schneider and Gara. So, Dark Schneider is an extremely powerful and equally arrogant dark wizard who wants to conquer the world. You'll also be playing...
Who sounds like this a little bit, huh?
Yeah. Justin made a strong choice for how Dark Schneider sounds.
Choice. Yeah.
And Gara,
sounds like Dark Schneider to me.
Gara is a general and a leader of the ninja army. The ninja army.
Gara.
Gara.
A general and leader of the ninja army.
I will be playing Yoko, a late teen girl, daughter of Gio Noto Soto, and she has the ability to summon an evil wizard with a kiss. I'll also be playing Ifrit, a demon god of fire. So this is going to be fun, and I am going to use my voice modulator. We'll see how well I can switch in and out of this. This should be a treat. Okay.
This will be a treat.
Here we go. The demon god Ifrit unleashes deadly flames, and Dark Schneider must find a way out in order to save Yoko.
Burn to crisp, you puny human brat. Guns and roll!
The room explodes into a fiery hellscape. Dark Schneider holds up his hand, casting a barrier of protection.
No, that son of a bitch! He can't use the same spell!
So it seems you know a little bit of magic, do you?
This is bad. My vision is blurry from the poison.
Meanwhile, Gara looks down in the prison pit at Yoko, arms crossed and smiling arrogantly.
Clerics and wizards use 4 different types of magic. These categories are based on the source of its power. The first type is magic based on mental strength and life force. The second type is white magic, which gets its power from faith in the gods. The third type is dark magic, which comes from hell, which comes from making a pact with a demon in hell.
And the last type is spirit magic.
Oh, aren't you a smart one? So knowledgeable. Spirit magic is based on forming a pact with the spirits that live in the 4 elemental planes: earth, fire, water, wind. Pull out your textbooks. Dark Schneider mainly uses that dark magic. His specialty is lightning magic, which comes from the wind elemental plane. And flame magic, which comes from the fire elemental plane. Ifrit comes from the fire elemental plane. Can you guess what that means for Dark Schneider, young lady?
Oh, no.
That's right. If he uses any of his fire spells, his most powerful magic, there's no way he'll be able to stop Ifrit. And that's not all. If he tries to use Hellion, it will only boost the flame god's power more.
Back at the battle, Dark Schneider struggles to keep up the barrier while Ifrit continues to blast the room with fire.
This isn't good. It's so hot, at least twice as hot as my own Guns N' Roses spell. The flames outside his barrier are over 1,000 degrees. Too bad I don't know any cold spells and never cared much for the cooling element.
You call yourself a wizard, but you don't even know a cold spell?
Shut up, you stupid monster. Humans have all their own strengths and weaknesses.
They also love to make excuses. No matter, I'm going to turn that fire magic strength of yours against you.
His flame attack will be hotter than 2,000 degrees. This room's about to turn into a sea of magma. This barrier won't protect me, but who cares? Let's go, you monster!
Die, human! Hellion flame!
The flames grow hotter and furiously swirl around until the room explodes. In the white hot flame stands a shadow. It's Dark Schneider!
Have you gone mad, human? Are you hoping to get burned to death, you puny imbecile? The measly life of a human goes by in the blink of an eye, and you decided to throw yours away. What a fool.
Brain, now you're brain dead. What?
What the? Are you really trying to cast a spell from within the fire?
Obey your coven of blood. Come forth from the land of Abaddon.
No way you're using that spell. That idiot. Stop this, human. Fire magic won't work against the likes of me.
Gehenna flames! Form a fiery blast and burn through all before me.
I said it won't work.
Go Exodus!
Dark Schneider shoots forward, punching Ifrit in the stomach with red-hot rage fire magic.
No way! Bastard! How did you do this? It's over 20,000 degrees, hotter than the melting point of rock.
I used the super high temperature flames and added my spell on top. For someone with my magic level, that was no sweat at all. Die, demon!
You used my Hellion spell to help you? There's no way!
Dark Schneider blasts Ifrit into the prison chamber as Gara and Yoko look on. Ifrit lays on the ground in defeat.
Damn it. I can't believe he used an extra hot flame spell to slay the demon god of fire himself. This is the only time I've actually lost, ever since I was born, over 300 years ago.
You're a damn punk. You like to keep calling me a little human, but you're even younger than me.
Efreet lets out a sigh and in a flash of flames and smoke turns into a magical sword.
Why?
And scene.
Good Christ. Oh my God. That was, oh. I read it and I still don't know what I read.
All right, Justin, take me through it.
No. I don't wanna.
I said take me through it. What was your favorite part?
When it ended. Let me pull it back up. I closed it very quickly.
You're like, I'm done with this. I'm out of
done
here.
with this. I'm done with Efreet.
I personally love the lore dump, like explaining how magic works.
My God. I mean, here, let me just pull this up again here. Yeah. This is the thing, I guess. I just don't understand how this is entertaining in anime, where clerics and wizards use 4 different types of magic. Now, these categories are based on the source of its power. The first type of magic is based on mental strength and life force. The second type is white magic. The second type is white magic, which gets its power from faith in the gods. The third type is dark magic, which comes from making a pact with a demon in hell. Spirit magic is based on forming
Yeah.
It's just that was.
Because here's the thing.
That was the worst. Why? There's nothing even creative about that sounds like someone explaining the rules of a game that I don't want to be playing.
100%. And here's the thing. This is episode 5 of a 13 episode season.
Jesus.
So we're almost halfway through and they do this lore dump. And I'll be honest with you, this doesn't really come back again. Like, this is a lot of rules, and maybe it does because it may come out down the road, but this isn't something that's like regularly referenced. You see people using magic, and anime has a tendency to like over-explain what's happening. Like, you get internal thoughts and things like that, but this is egregious in that they're like, well, we got to explain what's about to happen here so that we know like why, Dark Schneider, why him using fire against the fire guy is a bad idea. And here's all this other stuff. It's just like, Jesus Christ.
So wait, I still don't understand how his flame was at this room's about to see him. Barry won't protect me. Let's go. So how did he win? How did Dark Schneider win?
He tells you at the end, Justin, he used the super high temperature flames and added his spell on top.
You know what? I don't care.
And for someone with his magical power level, it was no sweat at all. For the record, I don't know what he did either.
What a great pun.
Right?
No sweat at all.
My favorite part of you reading that is when you got to brain. Now you're brain dead. He's casting a spell.
Okay.
And it's not abundantly clear. You just saw that and you're like, what? And then you're like, obey our covenant of blood. Come forth from the land of Abaddon. Gehenna flames from a form of fiery blast and burn through all before me. Go, Exodus! Like those are the magic words to cast his spell.
Did not know that. See, when he said brain, now you're brain dead, I heard it more sing-songy as if he was taunting him.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a spell. He was saying literally, it's so hot in here, you're now brain dead.
Yeah.
You're just a pile of goo.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a vegetable. Congrats. Yep. You're a roasted carrot.
My other one was just when Efreet, this demon lord of fire, was like, it's over 20,000 degrees, hotter than the melting point of rock. Like, thanks. Thanks for the update.
Does that have any bearing on anything we're going to do?
Now we know it's really hot. I mean, I think 1,000 degrees is hot. Is
Efreet made of rock?
No, he's a demon. He's a fire demon. But it's so hot that you can burn a rock. Like, that's how hot it is.
Cool. This room's about to turn into magma.
Yeah, it is bonkers.
I think the other thing too is I had one of those brain farts where as you were reading the where was it? Yeah, as you were reading the Efreet line, and you decided to throw yours away. What a fool! I was frantically. You ever look at a word and you're like, wait, I couldn't tell if it was Brain or Brian, and I had that moment where I was just like, uh-oh. I can see the letters. I know it says Brain, but I just had that fart, and I'm like, well, maybe it's Brian. Now you're, and that was like Brian dead. That dead
You're
Brian.
Like, let's go, Brandon.
It must be Brain. Yeah. Brian, you dead, Brian.
You're dead, Brian.
You're dead.
You piece of shit.
You piece of shit.
So
You fire God.
that was Anime Out of Context. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, we'll do this one more time on the way out. Yeah. Just so you all know, there will be more bastard segments to come. So I took notes. There's at least 2 or 3 more. So
Well, there you go.
yeah, there you go.
Man, I'll tell you what, Dark Snyder really takes a
I feel like Gara was the one, the gravelly Gara was the one that really got you.
Yeah.
I love it. Richie goes, I'm wet. You should be, sir. You should be.
You're welcome.
Emilio says, I absolutely love this new segment. I'm glad you do. 10 out of 10. Thank you, sir. I have a lot of fun with it. Thank you, Potty Plant. I'm glad you like it as well. All right. Justin, what do you have to recommend this week?
Well, Douglas, on Hulu, there's a show starring Amanda Seyfried, and it's called The Dropout. And it is it's a narrative story about the rise and fall of Elizabeth Holmes, who was the woman who invented the Theranos blood testing machine.
Yes.
And
what a liar!
Whew, it was a big old lie. Company was at one point valued at $9 billion, and she had investors. I mean, she had former heads of state. She had major players in Silicon Valley. It was insane to see. Now on HBO Max, there's also a documentary that goes along with it. It doesn't go along with it. It is about the same subject. So I'm now watching the documentary to see how closely the show actually relates. It's bonkers to see how she lied and defrauded so many presumably very intelligent people for an ungodly amount of money. An absolutely interesting, fascinating story. It's funny because I don't remember this at all.
Oh, I do.
Playing out in real time. So you remember when this was hitting the headlines and stuff?
Oh yeah, she got ass blasted in the end too, like real bad. If I'm not mistaken, did she go to prison?
No, she just. I think her trial is still underway, or it's just wrapping up. She faces potentially 20 years of prison time, which sucks because she just had a kid with her partner. So that's
also sucks that you defrauded people for a lot of money.
And well, not only that, but also gave a lot of misdiagnoses, and some people they misdiagnosed. I think there was at least one cancer misdiagnosis, a couple pregnancy misdiagnosis, HIV. There's a lot of shit that you're dealing with people's health. Fuck you, right to hell. It's some bullshit. And the funny thing in watching this is you do feel a little bit of sympathy because the whole time I don't know. Again, I got to finish the documentary, but in the series, at least, it rode this very interesting line where she, I think, truly felt like she had the desire to do something good for people. She really did want to do. I think she got so swept up in the lie and the ambition that it tainted the cause or the purpose that she originally set out with. And so you're just like, man, she really did have a wholesome and altruistic start, but it just ended in a very fucked up, topsy-turvy way. So I would strongly recommend watching it. It's wonderful performances. And in watching the documentary, Amanda Seyfried, holy shit, did she nail it. Mm-hmm. She nailed this Elizabeth Holmes's just persona. It's a very, very well acted piece. So
nice.
The Dropout on Hulu.
Very
Doug,
good.
what do you got?
I just rewatched all 3 seasons of Deadwood on HBO, and I watched the movie that recently just came out as well. I remember they announced a movie because the show got canceled. Yeah. And it was unfortunate because it just sort of like, it kind of ends and you're like, aw. And so when it's like, I don't know, I forgot when the show ended, but then it's like years later, decades later, they're like, we have a movie to go along with this. I'm like, what? Why now? I was almost annoyed. I was like, fuck you guys. But the show is so good. Like, it's so well acted. Ian McShane as Al Swearingen is probably one of the coolest characters on television. Like, he is an owner of a saloon, and Ian McShane fucking kills it. That guy is, not only does he have an amazing voice, but Jesus Christ, there are so many funny moments with him and whatnot, but it's really good. At times it almost feels like Shakespeare because they speak, their language is very much late 1800s. So sometimes you're like, I don't know exactly what you're saying, but the way they deliver it, you're like, I get what you're saying. And it's very, 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 I'm not a huge Western guy, so a lot of the stuff doesn't appeal to me, but I remember my brother was like, dude, you got to watch Deadwood. It's so good. And I remember watching it, enjoying it, and I hadn't seen it in years. I'm like, I'm going to rewatch this. And then I watched the movie after it. I was like, this is really cool. It's a very good show. If you haven't checked it out, highly recommend it. It's very cool, extremely well acted. I thought of you a lot, Justin, while I was watching. I'm like, I bet Justin would really like this show. I think he would really, really enjoy it.
I've heard people speak of it highly, and it's been on my periphery, but it's never really like hit my main queue. So with that recommendation, I will bump that up for sure.
Yeah, I'd say another standout in that show is Ryben Weigert. She plays Calamity Jane, and she is phenomenal. Just as this character, she plays a drunk very well. All right. She is absolutely amazing. Just so many standout performances in the show. It's fantastic, and
I love it.
It also tells a story of Deadwood, not quite South Dakota yet. Where there's this camp and it's dealing with this territory being annexed into the United States. Some of these guys don't want that because they're like, I don't really want the government here because then there's going to be laws and we kind of don't want that. We kind of like doing what we're doing. And it's sort of like how they manage this civilization in this time to meet their needs and their wants, and how they're sort of very much delicately balancing like what needs to be done, but also serving their interests. Okay. Some of them are nefarious, but then oddly, sometimes they'll all come together like, we got to do something good. Like, we have to, like, this is the right thing to do for the camp. Like, what needs to happen. And then like technology is slowly coming along. It's fascinating, like timepiece of what's happening in America at this time when you realize that South Dakota is not a state yet. The political corruption of people trying to pull this in different directions. It's amazing. So I highly, highly recommend the show. And Justin in particular, I would love to see or get your reactions from some of the episodes as you're watching it. I think it would be really, really cool.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Well, gang, this was I had so much fun tonight just reminiscing about improv and talking about AI and then doing another anime out of context. This is how I like to spend my Tuesday nights. This was fantastic. So I want to just remind you all again, we do live stream youtube.com/mindgappodcast. You can check us out on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central. Come hang out with us. Be like the cool people like Noah Reno, JF Potty Plant, Emilio, Richie, Zinni, and all the cool people that have been hanging out with us tonight, chatting with us. Slotty, we appreciate you. You can hang out and join the conversation. That's part of the fun of this show when we do it live is we get you joining in and giving us your perspective too, which is super fun. So check us out on YouTube, like and subscribe, help us out in that regard. Check out our Discord, like us and rate us and review us wherever you hear your podcasts, all that good shit. And follow us on all our social medias at Mind Gap Podcast. We'll love you forever. Justin also exists digitally as well.
On Instagram and Twitter at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. While you're in the online realm, like Doug said, find us in all the places where you consume podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Good Pods, Good Bean, Bean Pods,
Spotify.
Pods Good, Spotify, all those places. Rate, review, subscribe, share. Make sure to tell someone we exist. We like knowing that we exist. We like people knowing we exist. And then 2east8th.com and all 2east8th and all social medias.
Fantastic. With that being said, I want to say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Chat, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.